I'm Eric.
And I'm Darrell. Today on Eric and Darrell, I've got some hot new vinyl that just came in the mail.
And we just put out a Duran Duran music video. Let's talk about that and show some outtakes.
And then we're going to do a greater overview about the music that we've been listening to for the last 30 years.
All that coming up right now on the E&D Show.
So I've been getting a lot of fun packages in the mail.
Yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do tell.
In the form of a stack of new vinyl. I got some records. Whee!
Oh, okay. So you're ordering these? You're not going down to the old local record shop?
Yeah, so these are a particular artist. These are 4 records of PJ Harvey. PJ Harvey is this badass English chick who started her career around 1990, 91, something like that, which is an interesting time period because it's right when like vinyl was going out. Mm-hmm. And so record labels weren't releasing the new bands on record. They were only releasing them on tape or CD. I think maybe her first album was released originally on record, but I don't think any of her subsequent albums were released. But now that vinyl is back in, she is going through her entire catalog and doing a re-release.
Oh, wow. Okay.
All of her albums on vinyl. And so I am super excited because I love PJ Harvey. She's so good. I got these 4, her first 4 records, but I'm super excited because I already have it pre-ordered. My favorite album of hers, her 5th record, Stories of the City, Stories of the Sea, and it comes out February 26th.
Okay.
I've already got it ordered. It's just going to show up.
So I know the name. I can't think, like, did she have like some radio hits or something? What was like one that everybody's going to know?
Probably her biggest hit was this album, To Bring You My Love, and it was Down by the Water. I lost my heart. Which came out in 95. This came out in 95.
So I'm going to check her out.
Yeah.
I know the name and I know I must have heard her, but somehow I just never got into it. Like you must have gotten into her after you moved away or something. Probably, right?
It was actually through Angela.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she really liked PJ Harvey.
Oh, okay.
I was still here. Yeah, it was my senior year.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. Senior year. I guess we'll talk about what we listened to, what other stuff we listened to then. But yeah. I've never actually had any vinyl before. Like, I mean, as a kid, I had some 45s that were passed around, by my parents or something. And my sister had some Beatles records, but I just never got into it.
You were a tape man.
Yeah, I'm a tape guy.
While I was getting all crazy about buying records on Amazon, I was like, ooh, do they have that Duran Duran album? The wedding album? Is it available? Is it available? Not available.
Yeah.
I wanted a copy of Come Undone on record.
That brings us to the Duran Duran video we put out from the wedding album. We put out Come Undone. And that was when nobody really knew what Duran Duran was up to. It's like
the 80s were over.
Yeah.
And everyone, you just at the time before the wedding album came out, you just so heavily associated Duran Duran with the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't the 80s anymore, so you just didn't think about Duran Duran.
Right. Yeah, way too busy with all these new genres popping up left and right. It was a busy time in music. I was just getting into digital mixing and audio, like composing and stuff like that. And that was one of the first songs I ever remixed, was Ordinary World off that album. And I haven't heard it, and I don't even know if I have it anymore. I'm sure it's kind of terrible sounding, but you know, I was practicing, I was getting used to it. But that's what I really remember about this album, and it got me listening to the whole thing over and over. And you know, me and Darrell would always listen to it. And then I guess one day we just thought, hey, let's just make a music video for this song. Okay, yeah. What are we gonna do? I don't know. We're looking around the room. I'm guessing, because I don't remember. This is like 28 years ago. I'm looking around. It's kind of ugly. Let's hang some sheets up. So, hey, Mom, you got any bed sheets?
I remember that, and we used this extensively throughout it. And I don't know if we decided, oh, hey, this is how we're going to go about making this video. But you had a video light. It was like this big square, and it was like one single super powerful halogen bulb, and it had barn doors.
Yeah.
And it was just like a really bright single source of light, and it created really hard shadows, but you could flag it off. And I don't know, we got really artsy on this one. We just decided to like, we're just gonna do like cool artsy visuals.
Yeah. But yeah, I've forgotten about that light, you know, like just shining it on the wall and creating shadows. Probably one thing led to another. We're like, well, let's hang a sheet there and play around with it. And then we chose this song to get all artsy. And, you know, 90s videos, they're like black and white. This is almost really an 80s video. It's on the edge, you know, black and white, lots of shadows, just like, woo kind of stuff. Us dancing around or just standing, you know, like just staring into nowhere, you know, into the abyss. So we started picking up random objects around the room, right? To like, you know, to block the camera or to cut the light, you know, to make like patterns and stuff like that. Someone just commented about and asked us if we use the Connect 4 for the to shine the light through, because there's a scene where there's lots of little circles and stuff.
Yeah.
And it wasn't actually a Connect 4. Although it totally looks like one. We always joked that it did look like one, and it's totally, but it wasn't. It was actually a plastic thing that you use to hold up your sheet music on a keyboard, like on a synthesizer.
Oh yeah.
And we're like, hey, it's got holes in it. Shine the light through it. Hey, this looks artsy, you know. We have some outtakes of just kind of us messing around. Like, it looks pretty cool with these, like, here. Just because it looks so 90s music video. Even though it doesn't fit this video, but I like how that, right? It's like, it looked really freaking cool. You go in the foreground a little bit, and then these would be like here, right? You'd have like one on each third.
And then you're there.
Hi. And then in post, you make these like red or something. You're just like, yeah, maybe rapping or something. You could do like some diagonals. You could just straight up, like, he's like,
now I have a lightsaber.
You'll notice, like, in one of the scenes, I grabbed a phone case. Well, there's one funny shot of me shooting through the hole in the phone case. Little 007 style. And then, you know, just holding stuff up and seeing what it looks like. It always looks better in camera than it does in post-production. Like, if you can just make the practical stuff look cool, then you're like almost there, you know? And it's more organic, and you're like, yeah, I did that. It wasn't just like a plug-in I used, you know, it's like a thing, like an actual event that occurred in the room, you know? I always like that better. We wanted the whole music video to be in slow motion, but we wanted to lip sync to the slow motion. So we just sped up the song and lip synced to a fast version of the song. And of course, It's a little hard to do, although you did it pretty well. I was just singing the chorus or the backup vocals or whatever. Sound like chipmunks.
You know, it's funny though. I think when we were doing that, because it is sped up and you're having to go through it, you know, like even though it's like all slow motion and everything, like my energy had to be up to keep up, right?
Right.
So I have all this slow motion, like raging at the camera.
Right, because in real life you're like hopping around.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, that's really cool. I hadn't done that effect in a while, and it's pretty effective. I mean, it's something that a lot of people do. It's nothing we invented or anything, but yeah, it worked out great for this video.
Of course, then like we go through the trouble of doing all this beautiful slow-mo, and then you go and you cut out a bunch of frames so it looks all low frame.
Yeah. Right, yeah. We wanted it to look a little retro too, so kind of had like I dropped some of the clips into 10 frames a second, so they're jittery, but that's that 80s/90s music video look that we achieved, that we did a lot in our Nine Inch Nails video. You'll notice it's a little choppy. That's just you know, the look, the effect that we were going for back then. So I thought it'd be fun to keep that up now. So
yeah,
but like my headspace is still in the 80s, so it's not like I'm trying to like emulate it. I'm just like, oh yeah, this is the video I want to do, right? Because we're still making these videos and we'll never stop. But you know, it's like our creative space is stuck in there, you know, for that project, not for everything we do, but you know.
So why didn't we finish the original one? Well, it comes down to the way that we had to make videos back then. To do it the way we did it, we first laid down the audio track, and this is on tape. This is on VHS. So now the whole song's on there. And now we go back and we just put in the video over the audio. So we did one shot at a time. Now you'll notice that a lot of times my lip sync wasn't that great, especially at the beginning of a shot. Yeah. It's because all you had was a little bit of pre-roll to hear where you were in the song. And so you'd notice that I'll kind of start singing and try to catch up, and then the rest of the shot will be all like, yeah, I'm singing the words. So it was difficult. It was there were a lot of technical challenges, but sadly we had gotten through, and it was always, I remember it always being like hair raising, like the next shot, okay, here we go, video dub, okay, cool, it's working. But it's like every time you went to add a new shot, like the potential to screw it up was there. And
yeah, it was that A/B roll. So every time you recorded a shot, it would roll back about 3 or 4 frames. And then if you didn't like that shot and you want to redo it, it's going to roll back another 3 or 4 frames, remember? Mm-hmm. Until you're rolled so back that you're like, oh God, I'm destroying the previous shot now.
Yeah.
So then if you really were a perfectionist, you would re-record the last scene that you were already happy with. And then you could continue with the next scene, or just live with a weird glitchy area, you know. And it was like, that was just life, you know. Like we mostly got stuff on the first try, but I remember a lot of times it would screw up and we're like, oh, let's redo it. Oh, let's redo it again. Ooh, let's redo it again. But you know, that's part of the game.
And I don't remember exactly what happened, but I think a wrong button push happened. And
we might have hit record, maybe?
Yeah, I think we hit record. And when you do that, it kills the audio track. And once you've killed the audio track, you're done. It's dead. You have to start all over.
Yeah, you couldn't possibly be accurate enough to re-audio dub the audio. Like you could try it. You could try all day, or you could just say, you know what? I think we're ruined. Let's just do something else. Yeah, and we shot plenty of other videos. It wasn't a real big deal to us at the time. We watched that first half of this song plenty of time. We showed people. We're like, check it out. well, and we had to tell the story that we're telling right now.
Yeah.
Well, we couldn't finish it.
We couldn't finish it because we screwed up the tape, but
Yeah.
Whatever. But yeah, you're right. I absolutely always loved what we had done, and I wish we had been able to finish it. And so that was perfect that there it was. We could.
I guess this is our first try to redo something that we had done in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been talking about this for a while. There's a lot of stuff that we want to either remake or finish. In this case, it was a remake and finish. But we have plenty of stuff that's unfinished and like not edited and in a weird spot. So that's why we're going to present it to you one day of like, here's something new that we've never shown anybody because we didn't finish it, or it was screwed up, or who knows. But just straight up redoing some videos shot by shot would be pretty funny too.
That would be. That would be. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. And then there's deep fake. We'll talk about that later. Deep faking our younger selves to be like doing stuff that we weren't doing back then, but doing that. Like we can go freaking crazy with this stuff. Did you ever see Duran Duran, by the way? Live?
I did. I saw them on this tour in Huntsville. They came to Huntsville, sadly. Okay, so the big arena in Huntsville was the Von Braun Civic Center, and it held about 10,000 people. Duran Duran shows up, and this is like 1993 or something like that, and I think 1,500 people showed up. Like, it was just like the front part by the stage.
Oh no!
All the seats were empty, and like, 2/3 of the floor was empty. It was sad.
Wow. Why did that happen?
I don't know. I don't know if everyone just kind of forgot that Duran Duran existed and just it wasn't on their radar, or I can't figure it out. I was excited to go see them. I know Jane was there. But yeah, it was so weird. And Simon Le Bon, I can't remember if he said something. I think he might have said something snarky while on stage. But they played the show, so got to see them.
Let's take a quick commercial break. But when we come back, we're going to be talking about how our musical tastes have changed throughout all these years and how it evolved. So stick around.
And we're back. So what are we talking about today? We're talking about the music we listen to. And now a lot of you know about our metalhead days, but what happened before? What happened after? That's what we're going to talk about.
Yeah, and thinking about what we listened to before metal, I hadn't really thought about that in years, not until you brought it up. And I was thinking, man, I know I was into music like my whole life, but for some reason, I just kind of lately with all this metal stuff, I kind of thought, nope, it all started with metal, but it didn't.
It seems that way, yeah.
For me, I listened to, okay, these are my favorite bands. Weird Al Yankovic. I lost on Jeopardy, baby. I loved Weird Al so much that I had made a cardboard cutout of Weird Al, drew it, colored it, everything. It was life-size cardboard cutout. And I would put it, it's so weird. I would put it at our like dining room table, and like we'd eat breakfast, and I'd put Weird Al right here, and he's like sitting there with all his fuzzy hair and his mustache. And Mom's like, "Oh, I see Weird Al's joined us for breakfast."
You drew it.
Uh-huh.
So yeah. it was like a weird artistic rendering by Eric version of Weird Al. That is strange. Man, you were a weird kid.
I know. So, but I
never knew this. I never knew that before.
Yeah. I listened to Weird Al while I was mowing the lawn, while I was doing chores, while I was sleeping. I would go to sleep to Weird Al. I had all of his tapes. Just loved it. Anyway, and then my other favorite bands at the time were Run DMC. and Falco. Loved Falco a lot. The way I found out about Falco was I heard Rock Me Amadeus playing really lightly over the speakers at a pizza place. This was early 80s. I was a little kid. It wasn't showbiz, but it was another little chain that doesn't exist anymore. I can't remember what it was called. It's too bad. Somebody comment if they make a whole list of them. I'll tell you if you're right about it. But anyway, and I remember hearing it going, wow, this is a really cool song. There was no internet. I couldn't search it, but I knew that he was saying Rock Me Amadeus. And I would just ask everybody if they'd heard the song Rock Me Amadeus, until finally I met somebody who had and told me who it was. I was like, that's the internet search. That was Googling it back then.
It's German pop star Falco.
And I guess it was big on the radio at the time, it just come out maybe or something. And when I got the tape, I was like, wow, this is cool stuff. And my dad spoke German because he lived in Germany and once, and I kept asking him to translate. He's like, I don't know. He's singing too fast, and he's got, you can't really understand what people are saying in English sometimes in pop songs. So like, what? Yeah. So I was like, please, I was begging to know, what is he singing about? Like, what's he even saying? I don't know. Genie, that was my favorite song. Vienna Calling was a great one.
Vienna Calling. Oh, that was a great song.
Yeah. Tango of the Night, America. Yeah, so this was probably the album, Falco 3. That was the album that was just like, this is perfect. So what did you listen to before metal? This
is my memory of my personal transition into music. In 1982, MTV hit. Right? I don't really remember music before MTV. I just sat and watched MTV all day. I just remember having it on, and I just sit and watch video after video after video after video. I wasn't like then going to my parents and saying, hey, buy me that album. I just watched MTV. So whatever was on MTV is what I was listening to. At the time, Duran Duran and Eurythmics and all the big stuff that was on it. And then my sister, one of my older sisters, Kelly, came and moved in with us, and she had a record collection. Mm-hmm. So what did she have? She had Rick Springfield. Soundtrack to Beverly Hills Cop.
Oh,
with
nice.
Axel F on it. Yeah.
Yes, that was an excellent one.
Yeah. She had the soundtrack to like Rocky 3. She had a lot of soundtracks, strangely. She had the soundtrack to Flashdance. And she had Jefferson Starship, which was at that time just called Starship. And that was the album that it was Knee Deep on the Hoopla, and it had We Built This City. So those were the first like music at the house that I would put on because we had them, just my sister's stuff. And then she got Michael Jackson's Thriller. And I went nuts because Beat It had already been on, and then they released the video for Thriller. And like, I remember just like sitting watching MTV, like going, are they gonna play Thriller again? Are they gonna play Thriller again? just waiting. And then they'd say, oh, coming up, Michael Jackson. I'm like, oh, they're going to play it again. And then, sit there and watch for like 10 minutes or however long the video was, the whole like short film that it was.
I'm not like other guys. Of course not. That's why I love you.
I started dressing like him. People at school, this was 3rd grade. People would like make fun of me. I'd go to the roller skating rink and buy stickers of Michael Jackson. I convinced my parents.
Pants.
Of course, I had parachute pants. Who didn't in 3rd grade?
I had some red ones. I never had the Michael Jackson jacket though.
I didn't get a legitimate copy. I got like they started selling styled like jackets, So my parents bought me a cheapo lookalike.
Yeah.
But
at least it's, styled like.
I went nuts I loved that whole album. I would just play it over and over and over again. Pretty Young Thing, PYT, The Girl Is Mine. So many classics on that album. But yeah, I think that was my first like, this is my music, was Michael Jackson. Mm-hmm. And then like you, Run DMC. I don't remember how I found Run DMC. I think that was around 5th grade. And I met my friend Adam Smith, and he had older siblings as well. And so I'd go over to his house, and like his older siblings had all this music. And so I think that's where I first heard Run DMC. So that was the music before the metal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Patrick and I were friends in school, and we kind of both started listening at the same time, I guess, maybe. Patrick's brother was a metalhead.
Okay.
Ozzy and stuff. That's probably where it came from. He had tons of posters. He had long hair. He was a pretty epic metalhead dude. And he eventually moved out, or he moved to college or something. And he got Patrick down that road, and then I probably got metal from Patrick, and we were hanging out. Anyway, so my first tape ever was Kill 'Em All by Metallica. And I remember listening to it going, dang, this is hard stuff. Like, this is crazy.
Departure. Yeah.
Right? I was like, wow, okay.
They weren't playing that on MTV.
I was so curious after that. Like, and actually, we didn't really know much about Metallica at the time. And the only reason I bought it was the cover. The cover was epic with the hammer and the blood and the hand and everything. I was just like, whoa. And the name Metallica is epic. And I just had to have the tape, I guess. I don't know. So when I popped it in, I was like, wait a second. So this whole wall of heavy metal here at this tape shop is like unknown craziness. Like, I just want every single tape. So every week, go back, get more. And then, obviously after MTV, it's like do some research, find them, and then listen to them, sample them first. So what was your first tape, or did you have a first metal album? Like vinyl?
So yeah, I got, I think once again, Adam Smith, his sister had a copy of the Twisted Sister tape, and I borrowed it, and I brought it home. And Larry and I were playing wiffle ball in the backyard. And I was like, hey, man, check out this tape. I think they also let me borrow Motley Crue Shout the Devil. So I played Twisted Sister and Shout the Devil. We were just both hooked at that point. And I think I went out and bought the Shout the Devil album not too long after that. That may have been one of my first records. And then some girl who was a little bit older had moved in a couple houses down the street from me, and she had a bunch of Kiss records. I bought them from her for like practically nothing. That was my foray into Kiss. And then and then all that hair metal stuff blew up on MTV. So then it went back to MTV. I was just watching the hair metal stuff, and it was just the time, man. The time.
Yeah. So after metal, like what happened? Wait, let's see. Let me think about this.
I think of it as a hard cut. Like suddenly we just stopped listening to metal and then we started listening to something else. But when I go back and kind of review like some of the videos we've put up and stuff, like weird stuff started creeping in at different times as metal was declining. And so I mean I was going to Kiss concerts in like 92, 93. I was still seeing some of those bands like into the 90s. But it was showing up less on MTV. I don't know how it happens for a lot of people, but like I guess we had unique interests because of our video making. So because we were making films and stuff, we knew we needed to have a certain kind of music as background music for filmmaking. So we then took an interest in instrumental music. And then we actually started to like it, and just listen to it on its own as opposed to just putting it in our movies. So I don't think most kids start listening to like new age music when they're 13 or 14 years old. But because of our filmmaking, we got interested in it because we needed that kind of music for our backgrounds. But then it just kind of became part of our lives.
Yeah. We listened to a lot of Narada music,
which was a label that produced a lot of
a ton of artists. David Arcasone, Dave Lanz. There's a billion of them. We had so many, and by that time we were buying them on CD. So we had a ton of these things for soundtracks. Most of everything we ever filmed, we used all these things for soundtracks. And but
it's a really weird juxtaposition because like 1 minute you'd be listening to something with pan flutes and synthesizer layer pads, and then you'd be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna put on the Metallica album next. And to us it was like, it's just what we liked. We liked both. Why not like both?
Right. Yeah,
it was normal.
I guess around that time it was the 90s were starting to happen. So you had all these new genres popping up that were kind of creeping their heads up a little bit in the late 80s, but really just hit it hard on the 90s. Like Nine Inch Nails is a good example because they kind of poked their head up in the 89, but then in the 90s they were like, here we are. And then they caused the whole like industrial EDM type stuff to come up, and there was so many bands. I won't even name them all because there's so many like industrial bands that we loved, and you'll see some more music videos of them on the channel pretty soon. And then of course goth kind of came out of that. Goth kind of reared up a little in the 80s, and then of course in the 90s you had goth and goth metal and goth industrial and goth EDM and goth everything, except I don't think there was ever a goth country, but there could have been. But goth was everywhere.
See, you went away to boarding school your freshman year.
Yeah.
And you came back and changed my life.
So when I went to boarding school, it was I was in 9th grade. You had the boys' dorm and you had the girls' dorm, on the same campus. It used to be a college campus, so it was a big campus, and all the guys, they're all blaring their own music all the time in their dorm rooms. Like you could walk down the hall. I remember walking down the hall and hearing freaking Ice Ice Baby. One guy that's the only thing would play, and I'm like, really? Come on. I could really kind of sample lots of different genres, and it was really overwhelming because there was so many people always listening to music. It was never silent walking down the hallway. You could just always hear something. So I befriended this punk guy who he just loved like punk, goth. He had like part of his head shaved. He had like dyed his hair all these colors. He had all these nose rings and stuff. He just always had really awesome music. And I would always ask him all the time if I could borrow a tape or borrow a CD. For some reason, I remember most of the time the answer would be no. So I would stand outside his dorm room and listen and see if I could like pick out some words. Maybe I could go find the song myself or something. But anyway, one of the things that he introduced me to was Bauhaus. I get bored. I do get bored. I had never heard that before. Skinny Puppy was another one. Through Bauhaus came Peter Murphy.
Right.
And it was just like this whole genre was like, oh, this is like some tasty stuff.
A strange kind of love, a strange kind of feeling.
You had an assignment to do a movie for some project. It was like a live show.
Eric Fullerton. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoy the show.
Yeah. So
you were gonna make a movie. A Day in the Life of Bernardian.
This is me and John Bush's mini movie, Day in the Life of a Bernardian.
You know, get them all, man.
Turn up.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So we were making that, and I think you were just getting the edit together, and I was over at your house, and you played it for the first time. And there's this little scene. It's just kind of a throwaway scene. You leave the dorm and you're walking across the quad to go to another building, and this song comes on. Da-na-na-na, da-da-da-da-na, da-na-na. And I was like, what is that? And you're like, oh, that's this guy, Peter Murphy. It's this song, Cuts You Up. That was it. That was it. I went nuts. I fell in love with Peter Murphy.
I find you in the morning, after dreams of distant signs.
You later told me that, oh yeah, and he used to be in this band called Bauhaus. What? There's more? I went to the store and I asked for Bauhaus, and like, oh, we got one album, and it was their last album with She's in Parties. And then I eventually found all of their albums, and like, that's all I listened to was Bauhaus and Peter Murphy, like all through high school.
I guess that probably takes us all the way through high school. Oh, Johnny Clegg and Savuka. Let's mix that in there too. Because that was
huge.
Yeah, that was African pop fusion. It's just kind of feel good music. It's different, right? Because it's African, like just the Zulu language. Yep. And the backup vocals were all like, man, that kind of stuff. It's just epic and cool. Like, I don't know. So different than anything that they were playing on MTV. And so your dad, who had the account with Columbia House, was getting CDs all the time. And the soundtrack to Rain Man came in. You had gotten a hold of it, and on that soundtrack was Scatterlings of Africa by Johnny Clegg and Savuka. Yes, that's
right. So we just clicked with that one song, and we're like, who is this? Johnny Clegg and Savuka. And then we went and got the rest of the albums, and we just fell in love with all their music. So cool. Unfortunately, he just recently passed away like a couple of years ago. But
yeah, that kind of takes us to after high school. The 2000s, we'll just kind of speed up, say from the 2000s on to.
So wait, there's college. There's the late 90s. That was a pretty big transition of music.
Yeah.
Because I got heavy, and you did too, but kind of in different areas.
Yeah, in different genres, right? Yeah.
Of electronic music. So I got really into like bands like Eat Static. And Banco de Gaia. All out of England. And I think they were kind of, well, Eat Static was more, their whole thing was like aliens, you know? So
yeah,
everything they did was kind of like had an alien vibe to it. And then Banco de Gaia was like this, everything was very metaphysical and on a like Last Train to Lhasa. So that was an album about spiritualism and stuff, Tibetan spiritualism. And
okay.
So it's all like very deep stuff.
Yeah.
But what kind of music in the electronic style did you get into, Eric?
So
I say pokingly.
All right. So like in the late 90s, I started playing around with composing music. You know, I've always been a musician, playing piano and keyboard and stuff like that. But in the late 90s, you could start sequencing non-linearly. And it was like, wow, this is interesting. It's like us as editors all of a sudden discovering a non-linear editor. Like, yeah, it was that good for music. And so I thought, I need to get on top of this. So on day one, I got Sony Acid. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
It was a beta version of it. So I gotten it and I figured it out. And I was like, oh my God, I could remix songs. I could do anything. I could create lots of sound effects for our movies and shows and this and that. And the whole sound design thing just blew up. So, but at that time, I was heavy on the internet, like in IRC channels, downloading MP3s, getting music. I didn't really care what music I got, and there wasn't a lot of a choice. This is before Napster. So I just grabbed random music and I played around with mixing them together just to see what I could do. But as I was looking for random tracks, I discovered this whole crazy genre of like all this techno and hardcore stuff and just different genres of electronic, not just your, but it was like, I had no idea you could get that diverse with electronic music. And I was like, this is something I will always love. This is day one of my obsession. And I started getting obsessed. So I downloaded just gigabytes of random electronic music by thousands of different bands that no one's ever heard of. And I started sorting them. I started creating my own genre tags. Like I made up genres because there weren't any, I don't think, really that official. So I started putting them together. And so I started listening to stuff I'd never would have thought I would ever listen to. I got real big into like Eurodance.
God.
One thing about Eurodance is it's hilariously bad. It's hilariously stupid, but it sticks in your head. It's like those melodies are like designed to just like get into your brain and live there.
I could never follow you down that path.
Right?
Never could.
And the first band I'd found that was Eurodance and weird and cheesy and off the rails was a band called Erotic, E-Rotic. And I couldn't believe how stupid it was. I couldn't believe it existed. I'm like, this is the dumbest crap. And me and my roommates at the time would listen to it and always laugh. And I'd play it in like inopportune times and it'd be like, oh my God. And I kept doing that so much that I would find like other albums to like troll them with other songs. And I started liking it because I kept finding like the more ludicrous the song, the better. And I just kept doing that. And I found myself like I downloaded like 10 erotic albums or something. I'm like, this is crazy. And then through that, I found all these other bands that kind of sound like them. Like I got into Toy Box.
Tarzan is handsome, Tarzan is strong.
Me, Tarzan.
He's cute and his hair is long.
Long hair.
Finger Boys.
The band of us is coming and everybody's jumping. New York to San Francisco and intercity disco.
Ace of Base.
It's a beautiful life. Oh, oh. It's a beautiful life. Oh, oh.
Blumpkin. And then after that, happy hardcore. That's like your seriously happy music. Like 280 beats per minute, like but it's happy, Anyway, very weird. And then I started to kind of calm down in the mid 2000s, late 2000s, and like got into more like serious electronic music, like trance, drum and bass, Goa, jungle. And I started composing my own electronic tracks, and I took them to a club that I frequent. I befriended the DJ, and he'd play my music. So I could kind of test out my mixes and test them out and see when people dance and see if they like it. So it was like a really fun thing. I could create the music, go to the club, have it played, dance along. I'm like, this is crazy. And I still make electronic music today. So if you're on Spotify or one of these streaming things, do a search for my name, Eric Fullerton. You'll find 3 full albums of electronic music. It's not cheesy, happy hardcore. It's more chill stuff. But yeah, I still like doing that. So
yeah, like you, I got heavily into producing electronic music in college. I had tons of synthesizers. I was using Opcode Studio Pro. That was my sequencer. And I produced one album called The Skies Above the Little Alien. It captured alien technology. It was a concept album, kind of telling a loose story about, I don't know, it was about technology and life on other planets, and I don't know, I was getting very heady. I was very serious.
Yeah, I remember when you made that, and I made a couple of albums that I could not find, and I didn't keep, but I had 3 albums that I made back in the day, and I used to sell them on mp3.com, and that doesn't exist anymore. And I have a stack of old hard drives. We're gonna have to find them, but it's kind of sad that like my first music is just lost forever. But that was about the time that you were making your album, and that was really fun. Yeah. Any last minute genres that are just weird that you got into? Like, do you ever get into country?
Oh, actually, I hated country for most of my life. And strangely, I learned to appreciate it when I moved to New York in the summer of 2001. Me and my buddy Jason moved up to New York for a while, and we frequented this little bar on the Upper West Side that it was a complete dive. It was a tiny little bar, and all they had a jukebox. It was free, and all it was country. So you had to just sit there and listen to country music all day long. And then, of course, when something like that happens, eventually some of it sneaks in, and you're like, oh, okay. I actually like this. Still none of that new country crap. I can't stand it. But, this is classic country, Merle Haggard and, that style of stuff. So
right.
I like some country. I got big into, here was my probably big, after the 2000s, the whole alt country thing that came up. It was all these young guys who were kind of doing blends of old country and rock and roll.
Okay.
Most notably for me, Whiskey Town.
So excuse me if I break my own heart tonight.
So addicted to Whiskey Town. I like Ryan. I like Ryan Adams stuff. All right. Still just not as good as his first band, but that and Wilco. Wilco's a great band. Who started off more alt country and now they've just kind of gone in all different kind of directions, but they're a really good band.
So now, is there any metal, like new metal bands that you discovered or listened to?
I've never been good at seeking out music. I'm not one of those people. Yeah, I worked at a radio station in college, and so I was with a lot of like music nerds who were like, you know, the kind of people who would like dig through bins just to find the most obscure thing they'd never heard of. And then they'd buy it and like listen to it and be like, oh yeah, I discovered this, you know, whatever. I was never that guy. I'm always late to the party when it comes to music, but then when I do find something, I love it. Probably the closest thing to metal that I've really liked in a long time is Turbo Negro. They're this Scandinavian band. They're kind of silly, but they're also, I mean, it's really good, like heavy rock stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll check them out. I made a little list of stuff that I like listening to now as far as like new metal bands. Andrew WK. Hardcore Superstar. That's like really melodic metal that's kind of like Andrew WK. And then The Darkness.
Of course, The Darkness.
They're still around, so I consider them new, I guess.
Yeah, they kind of that 70s hard rock style.
Yeah. Like borderline parody, but like actually really good. Like,
yeah.
Yeah. And then Lordy. Lordy is like
Lordy.
He's like monster metal. They're like dressed up like monsters, not like Gwar, not that hard, more melodic, more like Hardcore Superstar meets Andrew WK, but dressed in monster uniforms, or like uniforms. In my uniform, going to work.
Oh, my claws.
All right. But they sing about, they're a Finnish group. It's almost like they're based on Evil Dead movies. They sing about,
nice,
you know, the Book of the Dead, and they sing about deadites, zombies, whatever you want to call them, and you know, being in creepy cabins, and they talk about horror stuff, but it's like really good music though. Like, I don't know, it's really good. If you haven't heard of Lordy, check that out.
Oh yeah, cool. I've never heard of them. My new obsession as of the past, I don't know, 6 to 8 months has been synthwave.
Oh yeah, okay.
An electronic genre that, I mean, it's perfect for us, right? Because the whole premise of it is it's retro.
Yeah.
The whole sound is like 80s. But I could talk about the philosophy of synthwave for forever, and that's for an entirely different episode. But it's good stuff. I don't know. I like it.
Really, at this moment, I find myself just listening to old stuff. After we started this channel up, I constantly just loading up old stuff that I used to listen to. So I'm in this weird place where I'm not really like trying to find anything new or trying to stay current. Well, we never try to stay current, but you know, I'm just always rewinding and going, man, I haven't heard this album forever. And it'll be like, you know, Look What the Cat Dragged In or something. I mean, you know, I'm listening to this old stuff.
I've always just been adding to the playlist. I never kind of stopped listening to the stuff that I liked. You know, like Too Fast for Love is on my playlist along with, you know, The Smiths. So like I love everything I've always loved.
Yeah.
And I've just learned to love new things.
That's a good way to go about it, because I think I've been the opposite. I always go, all right, new genre or new mood or new something, and I'll totally create a new thing, and it's never mixed with the old thing. So I don't know why that is, but I think we're totally opposites in that regard, because when it's time to go back, I will, and I'll like I last week I've been listening to a lot of Typo Negative because it's been forever, and I love it again. Like, but it's never been in my always playlist. But you know, that's cool.
I never could stomach people who were like, I'm a metal person, so anything that isn't metal sucks.
Right.
I can't stand that. I like everything, you know, and I'm okay with this is playing next to this. It's fine. I love music. So.
Yeah. And having improper transitions between songs is okay still. Like going from an Enya song to a Megadeth. Really fun.
It happens. Well, I think that wraps up the history of our music. Coming up next, we've got some giveaways for you, so stick around for that. But first, here's a commercial break.
And we're back. Did you miss us? So we got a contest, our very first contest giveaway ever.
That's right. Some of you may remember me wearing a yellow cheetah print shirt, which is modeled after Steve Perry's cheetah print shirt from their 1983 tour.
I was pausing this video at different stages and go, oh, okay, it's kind of curved here, and he cuts off the arms of this certain...
Well, the company that makes it, Schlicks Designs, was kind enough to send us a few goodies. So we have a patch that says Perry Girl, a patch that says Perry Nation. We got a little, isn't that cute? Look at that, isn't that cute? It's a t-shirt, but it's a key ring.
Nice.
We got a Don't Stop Believing mask. Yeah. And then finally, a Don't Stop Believing license tag. And all of this could be yours. All you have to do in the comments, just type Don't Stop Believing. You got to be subscribed to the channel, and that comment has to be within a day of the post of this video. And we will take all of the people who do that properly, and we'll put their name in a hat, and we'll draw the lucky winner. And all of this beautiful stuff will be yours.
Yeah. Okay. So post it on the day that this video right here is posted
On the day.
YouTube. We'll try to post it early in the day so we can allow more time. You know?
Yeah.
Because we posted it, 1 minute till midnight. That's kind of rude. Well, cool, man. That's I think that's a wrap on this show. It's a lot of music info went into the show. I have a couple of new bands to check out that you mentioned, and you should check out Lordy.
Lordy, yeah.
I thought maybe I'd shown you Lordy before. It's hilarious. It's awesome.
Cool.
But yeah, it's been real fun, and now I remember liking music before metal. That's
See what we did here? Yeah. Jogging the old memories.
Yeah. I hope everybody has a good evening and a good morning tomorrow. And a good week next week. And we're just killing time while all these credits roll. And there's a lot of people working on the show. Look at all these people. I mean, you gotta...
A lot of, yeah. Is that guy? That guy... Don't think I forgot about you. Oh, and you. Yeah, love you.
Oh, he's great.
What are you doing here? Get out of here. Get out of here. You're fired. Got too many people.
Bye. And